Story time. This book is called The Unfortunate Tale of a Borrowed Guinea Pig. Here's the guinea pig. Our story begins. Miss Beatrix Potter lived with her parents and her little brother, Bertram, at 2 Bolton Gardens in London. Beatrix and Bertram had the whole 3rd floor of the house for their own playroom, science laboratory, and art studio, all in one. It was a menagerie, for you see, Beatrix probably had more pets than any young lady in the city. But she said truth is that although Beatrix loved animals, she did not always have the best of luck with them. Goodness, she has dogs and birds, snails, rabbits, and I don't know what those are. That looks like a bird cage back there. Rabbits were Beatrix's favorite animals. She loved to train them, draw them, and paint them. She named her first bunny Benjamin Bouncer. Later came Peter Piper. Her bunnies went everywhere with her and were quite happy to stroll along the streets of London on a leash. Here are a few of Beatrix's other pets, some of whom I'm quite sure she and her brother smuggled up the back stairs. There was a canary, a duck, and a frog called Punch, salamanders and lizards, including one named Judy, hedgehogs and newts, and a snake named Sally, a tortoise, a wild duck, a jay, and a kestrel. Now, as I imagine you know, most wild creatures don't like being cooped up in a house, so Beatrix was continually recording the latest disaster in her journal. Here's a journal page. A day of misfortunes. Sally and 4 black newts escaped overnight. Caught 1 black newt in schoolroom and another in larder, but nothing seen of poor Sally. There's the newts. There's the kitchen. I think they called that the larder. There's a newt. Beatrix could only hope Sally had not fallen into the clutches of another member of the menagerie. That is precisely what happened to a bat that Bertram had captured and put in a small wooden box, Beatrix confided to her diary. The very next morning, that horrid old jack-jay, being left alone to bathe in a wash-basin, opened the box and destroyed the poor creature. I fancy he found it ill-favored, but he pulled out its arms and legs in a disgusting fashion. Oh, that jack-jay. But the worst was yet to come. One day, Beatrix witnessed the passing of an entire family of snails and all their friends besides. Oh dear, and she wrote, an awful tragedy was discovered. The whole Bill family, old Bill and Mrs. Little Bill, and Ditto Grimes and Sextus Grimes, his wife, Lord and Lady Salisbury, Mr. and Mrs. Camfield, Mars and Venus, and 3 or 4 others, were everyone dead and dried up. I am very much put out about the poor things. Beatrix had only herself to blame. They were all asleep in bed, and it seemed so cruel to water them. Oh, she didn't give them any water. Now we come to the heart of our story, the tale of the unfortunate guinea pig. Why Beatrix needed to borrow one is quite simple. While she enjoyed playing with her pets, her greatest joy came from painting them. Beatrix spent long hours sketching her animals, and she liked to paint them, doing ordinary everyday things like reading the newspaper, working in the garden, or taking a tea. Why not? Then came the day when Beatrix decided she absolutely, positively needed to make some pictures of a guinea pig. Donning her smart hat, she knocked on the door of her neighbor, Miss Nina Paget. Please, Miss Paget, would you do me a great favor? If you could lend me one of your guinea pigs to paint, Beatrix begged. I promise it will come to no harm. Miss Paget led Beatrix into the parlor. "Oh, which little darling did you have in mind?" she asked. "I would love to draw Queen Elizabeth," declared Beatrix. "She is truly magnificent." Her friend beamed. "Her family is indeed impeccable. Queen Elizabeth comes from a long line of distinguished guinea pigs. She is the daughter of Twitwillow II, and the descendant of Sultan of Zanzibar, and the Light of Asia. You might well think the young ladies were discussing royalty, not rodents." In the end, Miss Paget was so flattered by Miss Potter's appreciation of the merits of Queen Elizabeth that she eagerly fetched the squealing creature. "Thank you," said Beatrix. "I will return her unharmed in the morning." Alas, it was an empty promise. Oh dear. The sitting began quite auspiciously. Beatrix got out of her watercolors, placed Queen Elizabeth on the table, and set to work. Oh dear, Queen Elizabeth is not very cooperative, it seems. At 8 o'clock precisely, Beatrix was summoned to a fancy dinner party with her parents and a few guests. "I will return directly, Your Majesty," Beatrix assured the Queen, as she hurriedly dressed. Beatrix fidgeted all through the evening. She could hardly wait to get back to her work. Meanwhile, upstairs, Queen Elizabeth was eating dinner as well. She gobbled up the blotting paper Beatrix kept on her desk to absorb the ink from her dip pen. Then she consumed some string that lay on the desk to wrap a package. Then, not quite satisfied, the wretched Queen tucked into a stack of writing paper and paste for dessert. Oh dear. When at last Beatrix bounded into her art studio, ready to take up her brush again, a horrible sight met her eyes. "Your Majesty, what have you done?" She scooped Queen Elizabeth up and put her into a cage. "We'll have to finish in the morning," she scolded, and then she went to bed. There she is, putting her away. Dear reader, you can guess what happened next. That repast of paper, paste, and string took its toll. In the night, the Queen expired. When Beatrix awoke, she let forth a yelp of distress. "Miss Paget," she cried, "is going to throttle me." Oh dear. Miss Paget was indeed displeased when Beatrix appeared with a box holding a stiff and bloated Queen Elizabeth. "I'm so sorry," wailed Beatrix. She held up the delightful little watercolor she had made of the late Queen. "Please accept this piece of art as a small token of apology." Miss Nina Paget harumphed, grabbed the paper, and slammed the door. Now, dear readers, I'd like you to imagine that you were in Miss Paget's shoes at that moment. Would you have torn the painting to shreds in anger, or would you have kept it as a reminder of your dearly departed guinea pig? If you choose to keep it, I think you would be very wise, and here's why. Beatrix Potter went on to create The Tale of Peter Rabbit and other beloved books for children about squirrels, ducks, mice, cats, tortoises, frogs, and yes, even guinea pigs. She became so famous, in fact, that many years later, a small picture that she made of a guinea pig sold for thousands of dollars. The painting was probably done that same year that she borrowed Queen Elizabeth. A final reminder, if you choose to lend a pet, or just about anything, to an aspiring artist of your acquaintance, and something unfortunate happens, be sure to get a picture, and then keep it, because you just never know. I remain yours sincerely, Deborah Hopkinson. So this was a true story about little Beatrix Potter, who ended up writing all kinds of books about all kinds of little animals, and some of her early little sketches. I even have some of her books right here. The Tale of Ginger and Pickles by Beatrix Potter. Oh no. The end.